It is almost 6 o'clock, and we always pick them up at 6 o'clock. Okay, look.
Hey, Mr. Wyman.
Mr. White, how are you, sir? All right.
Okay.
How is you? The best.
Now we have a recipe here called Chunky Pizza Bread Pudding, and our friend Susan requested that we do this this recipe. So we are, but I need to say before we start that I always consider myself a very rigid follower of recipes. I don't feel like I need to use it as a starting point and going off and doing my own thing, but in this case, that's what I've done. Because it calls for bread, which you cut up in little cubes. And when I read the recipe years ago, it occurred to me that it would be a good way to use up leftover pizza, if you ever had leftover pizza, which we do. This is from Pizza Night, Wednesday. And on Wednesday, we had a pan pizza with cheese, which isn't what we usually get, but we did. Also, the recipe was from the Tribune, the Chicago Tribune, years ago. So, I guess we can get started. The next thing that I changed is that the recipe calls for 1 egg and 1 egg white. And I don't really like partial eggs lying around in my refrigerator, so we're going to use 2 eggs. The other reason is I'm not crazy about tomatoes, so we'll cut back on the tomato juice and use the extra egg as more liquid. So that's what we'll do. So here are the 2 eggs, which I'm going to whisk up a little bit. And basically now, I'm just going to mix together a bunch of stuff. So here goes the 2 eggs. This is a 14.5-ounce can of tomatoes, diced tomatoes. This is a little onion that I browned because I don't like raw onion. This will be in the oven for a long time, but I cooked the onion anyway. Now we can put in you can put in whatever spices you like. I like basil, but there already are some spices in the pizza that we're using. If you were just using bread cubes, you could go heavier on the spices, but I want to be a little careful about that. And we'll put in a little salt. I just put in 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And here it calls for a tablespoon of brown sugar, which I love. So we'll put that in. And then it also calls for a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar, which would be wonderful, but I don't have any. This is my favorite gadget. I just couldn't function without that thing. So Okay, I'm using cider vinegar since I don't have the other kind. Once I had some pizza left over, but I was missing a lot of ingredients. And so I happened to have some leftover sour cream and some leftover buttermilk, which I never have, but I did. So I used that as my liquid and cut way back on the tomatoes. It was heavenly. So you can really go in a lot of directions as long as you kind of watch how much liquid you're using. But this is our leftover pizza, which I already cut up into these cubes. This was a pan pizza. I think I already said that. But I'm mostly using it because I don't want to waste it and because it's bread. Ooh, there's a nice mushroom. And we'll just smush this all together. And then you're supposed to let it stand for 15 minutes and let it absorb the liquid. I probably don't have quite enough liquid in here, but I think it's enough. It would be a good idea to follow the recipe the first time, but I never did. So we like it anyway, so whoops. Okay, now we're just putting all the ingredients into the greased shallow bowl, oven going bowl, and it's been resting for a while, absorbing the liquid, although it doesn't look to me like it looks any different than it did, but we'll see. And then there is already quite a bit of cheese in here because it was a cheese pizza, but the recipe calls for cheese on top, so we're putting cheese on top. Just like you would do on a pizza. This is mozzarella cheese. This happens to be 8 ounces. The recipe says 3/4 of a cup. So I guess we got a little extra maybe. I don't know. Whatever it is, it looks nice. Okay, we'll put it in the oven at 325. My oven is a little hot. For 45 minutes, and then we will eat. Here we have our chunky pizza bread pudding that's bubbling at the edges. I think it's done. Smells good, but I don't imagine you can smell it.